Wait a minute. Peep the beard though. Haters won't say it's real. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you guys are gonna stay with us through this little, what's the word I'm looking for? Transition, if you will. Ugh, hold on. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Oh man. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. Yes, I cut my hair, that along with a lot of changes. But with that being said, Ophi and I are both taking steps in a journey of progression. And we've been talking with each other and trying to figure out how to set up this YouTube channel and how to get things running efficiently while also being able to tell our own story and also being able to tell our story together. So we're gonna start doing videos separately. Hopefully there's already like an intro video that already explains all of this, but we're gonna be posting separate videos at separate times, basically just giving you guys a weekly update of like what our lives are like and things that we're learning along the way. This is primarily, at least for me, more of a way to document myself and my self-growth. And then secondly, it's also getting people to know that I'm not like some perfect being. I don't think of myself that way to begin with, but for anyone that, or if it ever comes across that like we're perfect human beings, Ophi and I, we're not. Again, a personal goal for me is to be able to help you guys. So I feel that whatever I'm going through, most of you guys could be going through as well. So I want to help you guys with that as well. But yeah, with that being said, oh yeah, Happy New Year too. That happened. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Kwanzaa if you sell it. Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year. Shoot, just happy like joy. I don't know. I'm just gonna hop right into it. As of right now, I would say that something I've been struggling with is execution. And what I mean by that is I know the things that I want to do. Like I know what my passion is, thank God, but I have to execute better and like take steps towards like my profession that I want. And I've been fairly stagnant in that. Okay, I got it. I'm basically at a point now in my life where, coming from the person that would break their own back for other people, I realized at a certain point that that was hurting me and not helping me. Like I was giving my best to other people, but I wasn't even giving the best to my own self. And I ended up like spiritually like deteriorating, and I wasn't becoming the person that I had in my head, even though I was giving that version of myself in my head to other people. You know what I mean? At this point in my life, I know like my skills. Like I know my skills. I know what I want to accomplish. Like I love videography. I love photography. I love design. I love design of like all sorts. I like writing. I don't want to be confined to one specific profession. I want to be able to do everything that I'm skillful in and also have multiple sources of income at the same time. So with that also comes, I guess, cleaning out my own headspace. And with that comes a lot of things. First of all, it's being comfortable with myself. And I can honestly say that maybe a year ago, a year ago-ish, I was struggling with not knowing who I was, or not knowing who I was, but not accepting who I was. The first thing that comes along in terms of my headspace would definitely be knowing and loving myself. And what that means for me particularly is that I have to be comfortable with myself at all points in time, even when I fail, especially when I succeed. And just in day-to-day life, I have to remind myself that I can't beat myself up over certain things, but at the same time, I can't like gas myself up. Like I can, but I can't. Like I have to keep a balance between that. But also with knowing myself, it's like knowing who I am and making sure that I'm not subconsciously like mimicking someone else, or maybe even surrounding myself with a group of people where I know I can comfortably be myself, and not have to restrain myself or be a different person or retract certain things. So with my headspace, definitely self-love, and knowing of the self is evident. Two would definitely be anxiety, because I feel like being a creative, I naturally have a lot of anxiety because I'm able to imagine things. Like I think a lot. It's like creativity is a double-edged sword, because on one hand, you can see things that people can't, right? You get pictures in your head and you're like, all right, I can definitely do this. But then say when negative energy comes into your headspace and like moves into your room, you then start to imagine and see stuff in your head that's not even there. So for example, take the media, for example. If you hear, I'm not gonna mention who, but if you hear bad news, say you hear violent news, right? Say you hear that there's a shooting down your street or something like that, or a shooting like in the next town over. For a creative, it's not out of the realm for them to imagine shit like someone close to me could be affected, which is possible. And before you know it, you start to work in that negative energy like into your creative thought process. And by the end of the day, or like by the end of that like little, I guess like sidetrack, you're already like knees deep in like negative energy and like negative thoughts, and you're already thinking of the worst case scenario. You know what I mean? And it's in the next town over. But also with the bad comes the good, right? So anxiety is definitely feeds off of fear. Like I feel like those two are very similar. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I believe the guy's name is Jack Russell. Yeah, I think it's Jack Russell. And it's called Onward Creatives, I think. And he was talking about anxiety and how it's very much a double-edged sword. And it works hand in hand with fear, because anxiety more often than not comes from uncertainty, or like not knowing something or not having a foundation in something secure. So when I heard that, I kind of, again, it's like something I knew, but it didn't like click in my head. And at that point it clicked, and it helped me realize that I may be anxious and I don't even know it. Or I never came to that point in saying like, oh, I'm anxious right now. I would just be like, okay, I have to calm down, instead of admitting to myself that I'm anxious and then like starting that process. Another step in defeating anxiety that I'm seeing for my personal development is, again, as I said, like clearing out my headspace, but also while weeding like the flaws in myself and like building upon myself, I also have to do that with the people I hang around with. Because if I'm not around people that are doing the same thing, that's gonna reflect on me. And this is honestly gonna sound like very egotistical, but at the end of the day, like, you come first. I forget there's this proverb, but basically you can't help others if you can't help yourself. You know, if you don't have food, like how do you feed other people? You can't. So it's kind of like one of those things where I have to work on myself first in order for me to help other people to the best of my capabilities, and do what I do best. So definitely anxiety, and dealing with it head on. Another thing would definitely be my connection with God. And I already know right there that's gonna lose some people. But from the moment that I rekindled like my connection with God and like I started reading the Bible, like I started learning things about myself, and that made this self-evaluation process a lot easier. Because beforehand I would say, all right, like I have to put like all the burden on my shoulders, and I have to figure everything out myself, and I have to do everything on my own, and like I'm kind of like a lone wolf, and like, you know, it's like a very lonely mentality. And through reading the Bible, I figure more and more about myself, because for me, I see the Bible as like, it's basically like a spiritual mentor. And I know people that read the Bible that don't believe in God. But I believe in God. But the Bible has helped me with progression, because I don't have to do all the work myself anymore. Like I can open the Bible, I can read, and I can learn not only about myself, but the world, and like how to react to certain things and how to tolerate certain things. But what I've learned is that the most valuable things in life are often like not tangible. So that means that the most important changes that I've made and that I believe are true, the most important changes are the ones that you can't see. They're like more habitual, or they're like more internal. So for example, one thing that I've recently gone through is coming to the conclusion that I believe that I complain a lot. And I may not vocalize that to people, maybe I do, but I feel like in my head I complain a lot. And I feel like that's a voice that, if anything, I should be saying, but if it's in my head, I want to capture it there and then flip it into something better before it comes out of my mouth. And what helped me with that was like fixing my frame. I'm gonna see if I can link in the description the video that I watched, but there's this, sermon. There's a sermon named Steve Furtick. He had like a 40 to 50 minute long video about changing your frame and what that meant. And for me, being a photographer and a videographer, and having that be like, you know, a few of my skills, it kind of really opened me up to like a new way of thinking. Because normally if I was in a bad situation, I'd be like, all right, I'm in a bad situation right now, but I'm gonna get out of it soon. But that would be the end of it. Like I see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm not learning from being in the tunnel, if that makes any sense. So changing my frame, in essence, meant, I feel like this would work better in an example. I wanted to go to UConn stores. I didn't get into UConn stores. I also thought I wanted to be an engineer. Lucas. Those two things were inevitably the best things that didn't happen to me, because if I became an engineer, I would have to transfer back to UConn Stanford to like find something that I like to do. Not only that, but it's way cheaper at UConn Stanford, so that's another plus. I would get into all the nitty-gritty stuff, but you get the point. It's, in essence, changing your frame is basically changing your perception. Instead of being pessimistic about something or being like, oh, like look at all that I don't have, or look at all that I want and I don't have. It's more of like, I'm satisfied with what I have. I like what I have, but I know that I'm capable of attaining more. So it's kind of a hybrid of wanting more and wanting to break out of your comfort zone, but also being thankful for your comfort zone. So it's a very interesting mindset, and it makes me really happy, to be honest. And it honestly amazes me how far I've come from like when I was 15, because I feel like if I met my 15 self right now, we would be on like two totally different wavelengths. And it's crazy, because here's another thing. So sometimes when I think certain things, or say memories, for example, it kind of triggers me to go into that memory and then revert back to like my 15-year-old self, or like the mentality I had back then. but I'm going through it with the mentality I have now. So I'm picking out like, oh, like why'd I do that? Oh, why'd I say that? Did I really say that? Why'd I do that? Ew, why? And I come back and I'm like, wow, like I'm a totally different person. And that was like, what? Damn, I'm 20, 5 years ago. So I really have to give myself credit because I feel like I don't do that enough. Oh yeah, another thing I learned today, shout out to Shance for this actually. It's okay for me to be the odd one out, or it's okay for me to be the weird one. It's okay for me to, you know, not be the same as everyone else. As a matter of fact, like I take pride, or I take joy in knowing that I can be myself, because I'm not trying to be like, Ophi said this in her video, there's no point in trying to be like a second grade person or a second grade version of someone else when you can just be the first version of yourself. And that really goes a long way, because for me personally, I see a lot of people that act very similar. And I feel like I'm not doing it just because I want to be different, but I'm doing me, and by default that's different. And I really like that. Like, I like the way I dress. I like my sense of humor. I like my monotone voice, even though it fluctuates a little bit, you know. I'm beginning to love myself, and it feels great. However, there are definitely times where I break down, and all the negative energy that's coming at me, it gets into my head. You know, things like I'm behind, like I should be at a different place right now, and things like that. It gets me into a mindset where I try to force things that shouldn't be happening. Like, I should be here, I should have this, I shouldn't have this, and stuff like that. It brings me into a mentality where I believe that I'm not in this place for a reason. And I begin to neglect not only my accomplishments, but what I have. And before I know it, I'm in this mindset, again, deeper than before. And it's built, like the foundation is anxiety, right? So it brings me into another level where I'm like, I kind of idle, because I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start. I'm like, if I'm behind, like, where do I start? Do I start here? No, that's not gonna leverage me up enough, so I'm just not gonna do that. And then I just sit there and I'm like, I just idle. And I'm just like, And I'm just overthinking, and I'm overworking myself to the point where I idle even more. And it becomes like it's like a domino effect. It just keeps going and keeps going. But thankfully, I'm getting better with that, and I'm starting to appreciate the fact that God has done a lot for me. Like, I can say that passionately and boldly, and people naturally are gonna disagree with me. That's fine. People who don't believe in God, that's fine. You can exit the video. You probably already have. For me personally, God has introduced me to a new way of thinking, and a new lifestyle, and a new way to see the world as a whole, and a new way to see myself. That's exactly how I wanted to put it. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So self-development. But yeah, I'm just trying to clear out my circle, or not clear out my circle, clear my headspace, and keep progressing. That's what it's all about. Listen, I'm not gonna say this like, subscribe stuff, because like, if you feel us, like, you're gonna subscribe, all that, you're gonna do that. Like, I'm not gonna say that, oh, like, subscribe, links in the description. Actually, I am gonna say that, because I have to link the Steve Furtick talk, and yeah, the podcast. So I'm gonna say that part. I'm gonna say all that description stuff. Check it out, whatever. But yeah, just follow us on Instagram. I'll say that. We're gonna try and get back on that again, and hopefully we can get everything flowing again. Hopefully we start up the Twitter as well, but I'm not gonna say anything. But yeah, with that said, we're back.